Hello everyone, welcome to Ubisoft. My name is Amit, and today we are going to see part 2 of Junit plus Mockito series with Spring Boot application. In last part, we have written one small Spring Boot application in which we have written Junit test cases for positive scenarios, negative scenarios, and exception scenarios. Today in part 2, we will see what is mock and how to mock any class. Okay, so let's start with Spring Boot application. Now let's go through the project structure that we have created in last sessions. So in last session, we have created employee management in which we have created employee controller, then employee model, and then repository, and then employee service IMPL. In service IMPL, there's a method called as a validate method. For this, we have already written generate test cases with positive, negative, and exception scenarios. Now today we are going to see, or we are going to write a unit for save method and delete method. So let's start. Now first we need to open that src test/java in which we have already created employee service IMPL test class. So let's open that employee service IMPL test. Here we need to write a method which is responsible for to perform the unit for save method. Okay, so let's write the method public void save test. Okay, and then provide the body and use annotation called as @test. That's it. After this, we need to call employee service IMPL dot test. Sorry, not test, it's save dot save. And here it is asking employee object. So in that case, we need to create a dummy employee object. Employee E is equal to new employee and pass this employee here. When we call here employee service dot save, then what will happen? So let's see what will happen inside save method. So inside save method, we are getting that employee object which is passed by Junit test method, and here we are saving that object. But is it really possible to save this employee object into the repository? No, definitely not, because this is not a running Spring Boot application, it's Junit. So it is sending some dummy object here and it is calling save method. But this is not a Spring Boot application, so that's why employee repository will not get injected into that class and it will be null. And that's why it will throw a null pointer exception. So let's try, will it throw really null pointer exception or not? Right click, run, and generate. Yes, it is throwing null pointer exception. Why? Because this employee repository is null. So how to solve this problem? In that case, we can go for mock. Okay, we can go for mock. So here we will create a mock object, or we will declare that employee repository is a mock object. And when, if we are calling, or that Junit will call employee repository.save method, then return some dummy object and don't call actual database. Okay, so that's our plan. So let's see how to do that. So here first we need to declare employee repository, employee repo, and @mock. Once we declare here, after this, we need to call employee repo. No, not we don't need to call. We need to declare here when, okay, when is a method present in the Mockito library. So let me tell you that Mockito and Junit by default is present inside Spring Boot application. Whenever you are creating Spring Boot application, at that time it will be there. But in case of normal Spring operations or normal Spring operated, you need to add it explicitly. Okay, so if you see when it is coming from Mockito, that's it. So after calling this method, we need to provide here. Let me first import. Okay, we need to provide here employee repository dot save, and okay, this call should be not here, this call should be here. Okay, so here if someone is calling employee repository.save and passing this exact this object, okay, then return any dummy object, or let's say where it is written, okay, this is written. Okay, then return any dummy object. So we can return here this. Okay, that's it. Now here what will happen when we are calling employee service impl.save and we are passing employee object, then inside save method, we are calling employee repository.save. So here we are passing employee, but this call is mock. So that's why it will return that dummy employee object again, and we will not get any null pointer exception. So we can solve this problem in that way. Now let's run. You can see that Junit test case is passed and there is no null pointer exception. But the question is, what we tested here? Nothing. Why? Because let me open this save method and let's discuss. Because this save method don't have any return type. So we cannot compare expected and actual result. Then what to do or what we have to test here? We can test one thing, that save method is called or not. Employee repository.save method is called or not. So for this, there is one method called as a verify. Now let's call that verify method. So this verify method is provided by Mockito library. Basically, that Mockito and the Junit libraries are by default is present in Spring Boot application. So basically, whenever we are creating Spring Boot application, it will be the part of that starter form, and that starter form is responsible for to download that dependencies. Okay. So now here the verify method is present. Now what we can do here, we need to verify that employee repository.save method is called once, only one time. So how to do that? It's very simple. Provide here, okay, and then after that comma, and there is a method called times. This is a static method, and provide here number of time. So we are expecting that method should call only once, okay, and then here dot save method, okay. So that save method will or should call only once. Now provide here employee object. Now let's run the that generic test case. Yeah, it is passed and is working fine. So in that way, it is working. So let's see the next thing. So we need to write a test case for that delete method. Let me open that delete method. Okay, so this is a delete method. Now let's start writing Junit for delete method. So here for this, we need to write method called as public void delete test. Inside here, we need to provide employee. No, we don't need employee here because that delete method needs only employee ID. Okay, so let's call employee service impl dot delete ID and pass here ID. Let's say I'm passing any dummy ID called as 10. Okay, now what happened when we call delete method here? So before going inside this, let's provide here annotation @test. Okay, so let's click on the delete method. So once we call delete method through Junit, then we will get that employee ID and we are calling database again. So here there is a problem. Again, it will throw a null pointer exception. So in that case, we need to mock, which we already did. And then we need to use that when method. Inside when method, we need to define if someone is calling employee repository.delete and particular ID, then do nothing. Why do nothing? Because this delete by ID method is not returning anything. Its return type is void. If you see here, delete by ID, return type is void. So in that case, we don't need to specify, okay, when it is calling this, then return this. In that case, we need to specify do nothing when someone is calling employee repo.delete by ID. So let's see how to do that. For this, we need to use one method called as a do nothing, which is provided by the Mockito, and do nothing when we are calling or someone is calling employee repository dot delete by ID method, where it is delete by ID. Okay. And if someone is passing ID is equal to 10, that's it. So in that case, that call will not get break and it will not do anything. That's it. So let's run. Is it working or not? Yes, it should work. Yeah, it is working. Now what to do, what to test here, because this delete method is also void, so we don't have to test anything. So for this we can do one thing, we can verify that employee report delete by id method is called or not. So for this, again use that verify method, verify, and then here employee repo comma number of times, so call times method here and provide one, because this method is expected to call only once, then dot delete by id, sorry, delete by id, yeah, and pass 10. That's it. Now let's run. Yes, it is working. Let's add some another value, let's say 2. Expected is 2. It will get failed because we are expecting 2, but it is uh, executing only once. Okay, so in that way it is working. This is all about part 2, and we will see about how to write a Junit test cases for REST controller in part 3. So thanks for watching the video. If you like, then please share and subscribe.